So mind you, Nancy ends up telling me like the next day, our manager is gonna call me and I'm gonna get written up for that because you're not supposed to. She said I was gone for a whole hour. What was I doing for that hour? And I explained to Nancy, like, explaining that my daughter was having a meltdown. She was throwing everything. Like, every time I would make her stop, like, I didn't want her really, like, breaking anything, but I also wanted her to just stop and calm down because she was just, like, every time. I'm explaining this all to Nancy. She was like, okay, well, I wasn't sure why they even. Because I've never really blown up on anybody at that job all that time. And by this time, like I said, I was at the hospital since 2016. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 6 years. Yeah, it was about 6 years I was there by this time. And before we got home, I would get in trouble for clocking in late or coming in late, but that was a lot of because of my kids and daycare and stuff like that. But they still real strict on that. So that's why I would always try to come in early or just sit there because, like, that's why I love my last manager too, because I would tell her like it wouldn't happen again, and then I wouldn't get a write up for like a whole nother year, and then I would end up getting because I would get too comfortable. Like y'all old people that's at your job, not old people, but the vets that's at your job, like y'all know y'all get away with more stuff than the newbies. You know what I'm saying? Like the newbies can't try what the vets be trying. Like I knew my limits. I would always get too comfortable and then get, in trouble, and then I would straighten up. Like, but I think that happens to everybody when you're at a job for so many years. So manager doesn't call me the next day. She calls me the following day. But this time she has Nancy on the phone with her. So she's like asking me what was going on, and I'm telling her like my daughter was having a meltdown, and I had to stop her and had to tend to that. But she was like, well, you should have let somebody know before you did that. Mind you, everybody was letting me. I barely like telling people when I'm leaving the house, except my kids. I'll tell my kids like, "Hey, I'm going to the store," or "Hey, I'm going to," but if I clock in and I clock back out on time, why do I need to tell y'all what time I'm going to lunch or anything like that? But then they started. I knew they started putting times on when people would take their lunch breaks and stuff like that, because for me, I'll take my lunch at 5. I'll take mine at 4:30. Oh, I come back at 5, and so they really suck because a lot of people was doing that. I ain't gonna lie. But so she was like, "Oh, but you remember the paper that you signed when you first went into that you're supposed to have the proper child care and all that other stuff." So she was like, she got to write me up. I was like, okay, no problems or whatever. But then I felt like I don't know. I just felt like she had it out for me after that. I really felt like she had it out for me after that, because if it was my other manager, like she had a just in case folder. Like that's why I kept the just in case folder, because she would have have you do the correction forms or whatever, not correction forms but the write-ups or whatever, but she would never turn them in. She would just say, "Hey, I got this on you, like if you piss me off or you try to throw me under the bus, I'm throwing this in here." Like that's the type of manager she was, like, because I think she loved her team so much. She didn't want to see us like, she didn't want to lose a lot of us or whatever. So she just had those just in case shit and just let a lot. Like I said, like she looked out. I got away with a lot of stuff. I ain't even gonna lie. I got away with a lot of stuff. But I was also a good employee. I always kept my mouth, well, in the beginning, I kept my mouth shut. But I was always at work always at work, to the point when I ended up leaving, I had 156 PTO hours that I never used. Like, that's gonna come all in at the end. Like, y'all gonna, yeah, but I was a good employee, so I'm thinking, like, you have that ability not really to send it to HR if you really, really, like, I want to say like a really good manager, because you should have empathy. You should have heart for your staff. Like, a lot of us were single mothers in there that was actually having to go to work and having to pay all our bills and all that other stuff. Like, I could understand, like, you should have some type of heart, but she, like I said, she was, in the beginning, she was that one person that once they got, some higher power, she just threw her weight around. But she sure did turn that into HR. So that already has sent me like into like my second write-up. And I think the first write-up she had ended up writing me because I didn't clock in, or I came in late like several times. I kept clocking in late because they was telling us like after like 9, because I kept thinking it was still like when we would go to work, it was still like 9:15 we could clock in, we would still be at 9 or whatever. But then I found out like it was at 9:07 was the latest that we could clock in. So I was like, but then I understood because we're home, so you're not really dealing with traffic, so I could understand that. That's why I started clocking in. That's why I would forget, because I would make sure all my stuff is on by time, so I wouldn't be clocking in late, because I know I already had a write-up. So mind you, that write-up I knew was going to fall off the following year, which is in 2023. I knew it was going to fall off, so I was like, okay, as long as I don't get a third one, I'm good. But ever since that day, it was like, because we had Excel sheets where you could see like who would be on your page. So it was like every other day she was like steady on my page. Steady. Mind you, I hit my goal. I hit my accounts like almost every other day. Almost every other day I would hit my account.